conversation with José. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. And you have answered the questions about recurring patterns and main struggles. Would you like to summarize? You spoke about 3 main things, recurring patterns.
I think I wrote it down here. Yes, they're here.
An attraction towards morality.
That's correct.
Systems of morality. How to be a good person in a way.
Right.
You found the religious teachings that you received initially at school quite attractive, but it's not always been a religious thing. And also different teachings towards civics. What do you mean by civics?
By civics, in this case, I actually meant like what is considered here, at least, civic education, like how a citizen should behave in a community, in its society, and for its country. It's also part of the education that you could receive at school.
Okay. And you're in Peru.
Right.
Correct. And you study psychology, and your decision to study psychology had a moral sense to it, to helping
right.
others, helping others try to find peace for people. What kind of psychology? Or you mentioned something about typology. Yeah, that's systems thinking that you spoke about later.
That's right.
Yeah, the second thing that were a recurring pattern were an enthusiasm to be everywhere, and the third one was I'm jumping ahead a bit, but I think it was systems learning or something like that.
That's correct.
So and you included typologies in that. So how long have you been interested in things like personality types?
Well, my interest in personality psychology really started when I started my career, and that was in 2010. My first contact into personality psychology was actually not in a course of personality psychology, but rather in a course about statistics, in which I ended up working with a personality test, which was the EPQ, the Eysenck Personality Questionnaire, which actually divided personality in 4 different types according to the 4 humors that come from like Greek philosophy.
I'm familiar with them.
Great.
So it wasn't like a personal search or struggle that led you into interest in typology. Like, do you have some particular interest in typology apart from the fact that it is like systematic and like appealing in your career?
Well, there is always this curiosity about people that also drives me into it, and also a desire to put together my life experience in a logical manner.
Okay. So do you want to say something about your enthusiasm to be everywhere?
You want me to dive down into it?
Yeah, or I can just summarize if you prefer. You said both in terms of activity and socially, wanting to have as many friends as possible, even if only acquaintances, and trying to do as much as possible, even from kindergarten. And then you mentioned some anecdote, and I'm not sure I could hear exactly what you said. Was there some kind of something called Free Peru with different performances, and you went to all 3?
Oh yes, that was in kindergarten. Like I was 5 years old back then. There were three different performances, and each of them was according to the three traditional natural regions of Peru, which are the coast, the mountains, and the jungle. Like one performance was according to the coastal culture, the second one was more the mountain culture, and the third one was the jungle culture. And I participated in all three dances. I was in all of them, and maybe there weren't that many children who were participating in all three, but I was in all three.
And you also said something about what I wasn't sure I could hear, but something called the Brownies, My Little Pony fans. What, is
Yes,
that correct?
bronies. Bronies, yes. I was a part of the My Little Pony fan group. Well, bronies are the adult male fans of My Little Pony. This last like when in 2010 the fourth generation of My Little Pony came out, it started expanding further its base of like its fan base. It was not just little girls, but also even adult males. So I was a part of that, and soon after I joined the group, I also became a part of the staff of the group who helped organize the events of the fan group,
Yeah,
and I
you
visited it
described
quite a
this.
lot.
You described it as something automatic, like an enthusiasm for going to do what you had in front of you.
That's right. Like if I want to, if I am part of something, I usually like to participate in as much things there are there. That's what
So,
that's what I
would
describe.
would you
Mhm.
say that you enjoy work?
Uh, as much as my energy levels can handle, because that's also something that I mentioned in the questionnaire. That's I usually feel like I'm a bit low energy for what I want to do.
Yeah, your main struggle. So,
Right.
would you consider yourself conscientious in like the big five?
The problem is I do have the Big Five, and as a part of my career, I actually have a copy of the Big Five with me, but I never took it. I don't remember myself taking it or at least completing it, or if I did, I don't have the results. I would
Okay,
love to
yeah, but
have them.
I can ask you some other questions here that I've prepared because I was thinking that like this conflict with low energy and yet a desire to do things seemed like it could be a conflict between Meritum and Misericordem. Like if your main energy is Misericordem, but you have like Meritum in your configuration, perhaps that secondary energy is what drives you to want to do things, but the main energy can't keep up, perhaps.
Like Misericordem is like low energy in that sense. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I suspect it could be in terms of physical energy at least, because it is the reflection of the sapientium sphere. So it's sensitive, and sensitive energy tends to easily become drained, if that if that makes sense.
Oh, like the sensitive social energy of Misericordem. Is that what
Yeah,
you mean?
would you say that you are sensitive?
Yes, I haven't described it sensitive, and as much as the descriptions go from other people, I agree up to a point. Yes.
How do you feel about if you differentiate like between like psychology and more geek, like My Little Pony is like geek culture? Do you
Yeah.
like this distinguish, or is something more important to you, or it does it not matter? It's like all enthusiasm for both.
Oh, like if there is more enthusiasm for one or for the other, is that what you mean?
Yeah, or if you like distinguish in some ways the two, like if you. I imagine someone who is merit and primary would not be into geek culture, for example.
Right. Oh no, I'm very attracted to geek culture, not just My Little Pony. My Little Pony maybe is where I've been most active, but a lot of things regarding geek culture I'm very attracted to. Even if I don't always participate in the in their respective fan groups or if I only do it virtually, I'm a lot into Lord of the Rings. I'm a lot into Harry Potter. I'm a lot into. I try to get a bit more into Star Wars, like try to give it some time, but I've seen the prequels so far. Uh, and many other things regarding fantasy and science fiction. I like, for example, Over the Garden Wall, which is a cartoon, a fantasy cartoon. I like the Never-Ending Story. I like uh, the Chronicles of Spiderwick, but I only watched the movie. But I really like the movie though. I'm a lot into geek culture. Actually, even took the geek test at a point, and I scored a geek. I think they're like normal geekish tendencies, geek, and then the crazy levels, and I scored as geek.
The other option that I was thinking, if you had submitted your like answers in text only, I think I would have suspected maybe urbanum. But you took your time to answer and spoke more like carefully, and yeah, basically your energetic level seems closer to like the sapientiam energies, and Misericordem is very sapientiam like. And the reason why I'm not considering sapientiam is perhaps more my experience with those particular types. You seem to be somewhat social, or would you classify yourself as social? Like extraversion in high extraversion in the big five correlates with high enthusiasm, for example.
Right, but probably if I took the big five, I wouldn't score high in extroversion. Like for example, in the EPQ, I always scored low in extroversion, and until now, I've always scored low in extroversion in the EPQ, which is one of the scales that is measured there. Like it's like extrovert. There are only two scales there. It's just extroversion and neuroticism. And in extroversion, I've always scored low.
Okay, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose not all tests define extraversion as high enthusiasm, but the one I took did that, and it seemed to make sense because I scored high on introversion and high on or low on enthusiasm.
Right.
So my primary energy is abstractum, and I don't think you come across as an abstractum, even though abstractum also struggles with low energy, you could say.
Abstractum is like the sapientum with a physical.
Yeah.
Physical. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I'll go for myself.
Yeah, and about behaviors that you dislike was aggressive behavior that disregards logic or loses their sense of logic. Usually Misericordem can dislike quite a few things, but I wonder if I mean, the Meritum has a bit of a positive side to it, or like it's not such a negative energy, I would say. So let me try out some new questions I've been trying to put together that I might use for a test, but I still haven't
put them together.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they are. I will have to test them, but would you say that you are more adaptive and lenient and uncritical, or more staunch and unwavering and critical?
Like more adaptive or more staunch?
Yeah.
Like more used to would you say more used to accept other people's leadership or take the leadership myself in that sense?
Yeah, not necessarily leadership. It can be like Yeah, in relation to other people and society, would you say that you when you try to get along, or like, yeah, are you adaptive and lenient, like towards people, and more towards the uncritical side, like accepting, or are you more staunch and unwavering and like critical? It can be like hidden, perhaps.
Okay,
I'm
that's a good point, because externally I usually look adaptive, and I usually just try and get along with the person that I'm with, whoever it is. But I can be a bit more critical, like internally, and I'm more usually but not with not much company. I do try to make as many acquaintances as possible, but there are things that I will find myself like being critical about.
But you wouldn't say that you are a black and white thinker, like, or
No.
do you have very strong views on certain things?
Uh, I do have strong views, but I also think people can change.
Okay, so do you enjoy talking, or do you prefer to talk as little as possible?
I'm usually not very used to talking. Whenever I have a chance, there's a person like that gives me like um, give me enough reasons to trust them. I will talk a lot actually, but I'm usually don't do that.
Okay, but do you enjoy doing that? Like, would you like to talk more, or do you prefer to be quiet?
I would like to talk more. Yes,
Okay.
I think so.
Would you say that you are more optimistic or more pessimistic about yourself and things?
More optimistic than pessimistic. Probably around the
Yeah,
average, but a bit more optimistic.
a bit more towards optimistic. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, would you say that you are more unconventional, erratic, and eccentric, or more conventional, self-controlled, and disciplined?
The first one.
Unconventional, erratic, and eccentric.
Yeah.
Do you prefer to exchange and debate? Do you prefer to exchange and debate ideas, or to give advice and be the expert?
That's a good question. Exchange ideas or give advice and be the expert. Hmm. It depends on the area, actually.
Okay. Would you say that you are more non-involved, tactful, humorous, and cool, or or more passionate, aggressive, serious, and fiery?
The first one.
Would you say that you are more easygoing and even a bit lazy, or more conscientious and prefer to work?
Somewhere in the middle.
Would you say you have more self-confidence or less self-confidence?
I think I do have self-confidence.
Are you more idealistic, imaginative, and drawn to the futuristic, or more cynical, worldly, and drawn to the primitive?
The first option.
Would you like to have more friends if you could, or are you largely disinterested in friendships?
I would like to have more friends. Yes.
Are you emotionally more attracted to equality and good manners, or more attracted to elitism, improvement, and self-improvements?
Emotionally, like in my daily treatment, I would say more attracted to equality and good manners.
Are you more prone to become addicted to negativity or more prone to become allergic to negativity?
No, more allergic to negativity.
You tend to not like to be around the negative people.
Yeah.
Are you more inhibited and distant or more impulsive and go in close? Like in relationships or like relational intensity and so on?
I'm a bit more distant.
Are you more non-conventional, uncertain, and disdainful of norms and values, or more conventional, assertive, and driven towards norms and values?
Yeah, I think I usually more conventional legitimate to values.
Are you more rebellious and defiant, or more submissive and loyal?
Mostly submissive and loyal.
Do you tend to feel more like a victim or more like a perpetrator in relation to others and society?
I think I tend towards the victim side between the two.
Do you tend to feel more indifferent towards people and society or more concern towards people and society?
Concerned.
Do you tend to feel more passive, lethargic, alienated, and stagnated, or more mobile, expressive, positive, and adaptive?
Oh, what was the question again?
Do you tend to feel more passive, lethargic? Lethargic is like someone who is lacking in energy.
Right.
Alienated and stagnated, or more mobile, expressive, positive, and adaptive?
The first option.
More passive.
Mm-hmm.
Are you more drawn to simplicity, minimalism, and contemplation, or more drawn to luxury, extravagance, and adventure?
If I'm more drawn to either,
Yeah, like do you like living simple and with minimalism and like more like contemplative life, like where you think or create or imagine things, or are you more drawn to like luxury, extravagance, and like adventures, going out into the world and like living in a more physical sense?
like that's balanced.
Are you more demanding and engage with commitments, or not at all demanding and avoid commitments?
The second one.
So, so even though when you have an enthusiasm for things and you are like the leader for like fan groups, you still wouldn't, you still avoid commitments to some extent.
Yes, I would prefer that. Like if I would prefer to participate where I can contribute, but still have some like space left for myself or for other things.
Are you more selfish and avoid helping others, or are you more generous and put other people's needs before your own?
The second option.
Are you more mild, shy, and introverted, or more harsh, bold, and extroverted?
The first option.
Are you more personal and complicated, or more professional and efficient?
Oh, the first one.
Are you more prone to guilt, self-criticism, and unselfishness, or more prone to feeling self-satisfaction, selfishness, and having fun?
The first one.
Are you more prone to passive dreaming and feeling inferior, or more prone to assertive action and feeling superior?
I think the first one.
Would you say you are more intense and demanding, or more mild and lenient?
The second one.
Would you say that you are more sensitive and easily bothered, or more desensitized and careless?
Mostly the first one.
Would you say you are more professional and systems oriented, or more unstable and impulsive?
Somewhere in the middle.
Are you more steadfast and constant, or are you more flexible and pleasing?
The second one, I think. Mostly. Not always.
Are you more interested in attention and being admired, or more interested in sticking to the background and not standing apart?
Okay, well, if I tend to either, is that the question?
Are you more interested in attention or in sticking to the background?
Oh, more interested. I think I am. I think I'm more interested into getting the attention actually.
Do you more tend to help and conform to people and society, or more tend to rebel towards society and exploit people?
The first one.
Do you prefer big city life or smaller brotherhoods and clan camaraderies?
Somewhere in the middle.
Are you more pleasure-seeking, childish, lazy, hedonistic, or more adult, sacrificing, hardworking, and rigid?
Somewhere in the middle.
Are you more impatient, manipulative, and dramatic, or more patient, honest, and laid back?
The second option.
Are you more concerned with how other people view you, or more concerned with how you view other people? Like if you like people or not?
All right. Okay. I'm trying to get more into the middle, but I usually tended towards how other people viewed me. But now I think I'm more into the middle. I'm trying to be more aware of how I react to others,
Okay,
how I deal with others.
so in the past you were more the former, and then you have gone more towards the middle with experience.
Yes.
And yeah, okay.
Right.
Do you tend to have ambitions and a desire to be the best, or are you modest, humble, and unambitious?
Yeah, I think a bit more the second one.
Do you more tend to be drawn to people with cultural status and good reputation, or to people with low cultural status and bad reputation? And this doesn't have to be friends, it can be like people who are famous and things like that as well, like YouTubers. Or it can be friends.
Right. Okay, where I'm more drawn to. Like, yes, I think I would go to the good reputation.
If democracy is not an option, do you prefer your country to be run by a rich, idealistic, aristocratic elite, or a harsh dictatorship by a strong man?
The first one.
Would you say that you are more conflict avoidant and soft-hearted, or more conflict loving and hard-hearted?
The first one.
Are you more self-sacrificing and loyal, or more tyrannical and independent, or selfish and independent?
A bit more the first one, but I do have some independence.
Okay, so now I haven't taken notes on what you have said, but it very much sounds like you lean towards the kratom sphere that I refer to as like the social anxious one. Since you seem to be interested in a bit of attention and like are concerned with how people view you and things of that sort. Now the interesting thing, you scored somewhat low on like abstractum. I would say that you do seem fiduciamic, what I refer to as fiduciam. I think that could explain also like your enthusiasm for like a lot of things, even if they are geeky, like you want to do things and take part in things. If we look at what would be the most enthusiastic of the sapientiam energies, but I don't think that you are fiduciam primary, because there was something you
But
yeah.
fiducium would still be somewhere up there, right?
Yeah, it would be secondary, I would say, with Misericordem. So my guess was based on your first answer, based on the video that you sent me through Giancarlo, that you might be Misericordem with fiduciam and meritum second. So the interesting thing here is whether or not you have more of meritum or corpus. You score very low on excidium, for example. But so let me see here where I contrast. Yeah, you did say that you scored on pretty high self-confidence, more than less self-confidence.
Yes, I would say I have a bit more self-confidence, but in there are some aspects in which I consider myself self-confident, and others that I don't like. There is one question that you mentioned, which you said you asked if I was more drawn to myself and a bit more shy, or more like confident to and getting out there. And in that sense, I do consider myself actually less confident. But it's like I'm in more in my head, like in my little world in which I am protected. But in that little space, I am confident, and I'm confident in saying very. Even if someone tells me, "Hey, try to be a bit less in your head," I think I am enough in my head. Like I think I answered it in a way, and when you talk about like a socionics, in socionics I consider myself as C polar, and C polars are considered like overthinkers, and a lot of people who are C polars would consider themselves overthinkers, and I'm more like, yes, other people will consider me an overthinker, but I think I think enough.
Did you say overthinker?
Yes, a lot of people will consider me an overthinker,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I
Yeah.
consider that my overthinking, quote unquote, is fine. Up to a point, at least.
Yeah, I suspect that self-confidence is kind of low in corpus because of they have more out of the Moran types, they have more influence from the social anxious sphere, and that would perhaps then point more towards either meritum instead of corpus, or that you have a rather strong fiduciam and like weak corpus energy secondary. But there was something where you did pick meritum over corpus. Let me see where I try to contrast them.
Right.
There. Oh yeah. Do you tend to have ambitions and decide to be the best, or modest, humble, and unambitious? Now you did say that you have some ambitions.
Yes, I
Right.
do have. I do have some ambitions, but I will if I find there is a limit, or that there is something else that I want to do, and that such ambition will stop me from the other thing that I also want to do, I will leave the ambition. You know,
Yeah.
I do have some ambitions, but I don't consider them a priority for me.
But what about being like the best at something? Do you desire?
Mm, yeah, I'm not much into that. I used to be, maybe, in my mind, but in the moment of action, I'm okay with not being.
Um, what about like do you admire people or cultures? Do you have a high opinion of anything in particular, like a role model or something like that?
Like, of somebody who becomes the best at something.
Yeah, well, no, just in general, do you like admire, do you feel a sense of admiration for certain people, or is that something that you kind of are drawn to, like to find people who you admire in any way? It doesn't sound like it sounds familiar to you when I put it
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, right. I mean, there are people in different areas that I will admire, but it's gonna be like a diverse group of people that I admire for very different reasons, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, you could be married to me. I don't have. Well, I do have some female examples of people that I think are. Let me think.
Mm.
Yeah. What about things like uh, traditional religion, politics, teaching? Does any of that sound appealing to you?
Tradition on its own actually doesn't. Religion has always been a big theme throughout my life, even if I was not always religious, actually. But I'm not as attracted to tradition, actually. I'm attracted to the deep knowledge that you can reach with religion, and also the moral aspects, but not as traditions, not as much as traditions.
And the moral aspect to you is very much about helping people. Or would you define, yeah, like your definition of morality? Could you go into that?
It is part of it.
Anything more?
Well, it's in part trying to help other people, but also trying to become the right person to do that. You know, to someone whose character has developed to a point in which has its best potential to actually help other people. So there's a character aspect there.
So you like to present yourself as someone who is what would you call it? Like would it be something like competent to help people, or someone who inspires confidence that you can help people, or how would you like describe it?
Yes,
Or
I will. Mm,
or do
yeah.
you want to be like a role model, like model your behavior in a way that shows or that you are a helpful, moral person?
Yes, I would like to become a helpful moral person in that sense. Now, if I inspire other people to do that, that's also great. I think in some aspects I have helped inspire other people, but this has mostly been involuntary. It's just me doing it in the process, and like it's me trying to do the things that I wanted to do, but inspiring people in the process, and I think that's cool, even though it was
What
not intentional.
what is your like since you're familiar with other typologies, what do you type yourself as, or like do you have a type that you identify in other typologies?
Yes, I'm pretty sure I'm SE polar in socionics. MBTI to me is a bit messy because there are so different perspective, and I think the main one is even the main one is messy itself. Uh, then in attitudinal psyche, well, the one that comes from psychosophy and has been developed a little more lately, identify as LVEF and have been formally typed as LVEF. I'm recognized by the creator of the system as LVEF. Um,
In those systems, is there anything that points towards that identifies your sense of morality?
Yes, I think maybe the one that speaks closest to morality, like the SE polar types in socionics are related to uh, the self control of morality, the self control aspect of morality more than being more like the person who tries to become the moral person instead of trying to teach morality to others. There's a thing with SE polar variant socionics. Also, people have typed me Enneagram 1 as well. I mean, Rob from Eternal Psyche has typed me as Enneagram 1. Giancarlo's thinks I'm either a 1 or a 9. And well, Enneagram 1 is actually definitely related to morality and moral standards and moral rules.
Yeah, I still wonder if what about let's see here. Yeah, what about conflict avoidance and soft-heartedness? Would you say that you are very conflict avoidant and soft-hearted, or more towards the middle but not quite?
Yeah, I'm think I will avoid conflict if I can, you know. But if there are things that need to be done, I will try to do them with it as little conflict as possible, because sometimes there just will be.
Okay. Yeah, I would say, oh yeah. Yeah, we have some. What about anxiety? I didn't get. Would you say that you, to what extent do you identify with like being anxious or like difficulty relaxing?
Definitely, in a sense, you know, I actually, for a few years, was under some anxiety pills, and yes, there is a sense in which there are certain situations and moments in which I will be more anxious than others. And yes, I do have a bit of a difficulty to relax sometimes, even to the point of having some physical symptoms.
Interesting. I think that might point towards corpus a bit more. It's interesting because that would make you similar configuration as another person who I have interviewed, or two others actually. But you seem a little bit different, still very similar enough that I could categorize you in like the same group, and it would make sense. That's kind of the crux, or sometimes a bit of the challenge with these typology communities. They tend to attract very similar people, so you sometimes don't
Right.
get enough variety. And with those people, since there are always some individual differences, it's very tempting to try to put everyone in a different category, even though they may be the same category.
Right.
But I think, yeah, I'm going to ask like people to comment in the comment section Are you okay with me uploading this video on my channel?
Yeah, that's fine.
It sounded like perhaps you were interviewed by this attitudinal psychology, or was that in a more private conversation?
It wasn't actually an interview. I sent a video that I recorded myself, and then Rob reviewed it.
Okay. What about the responsibility? To what extent do you feel like you have a sense of responsibility, or for taking responsibility for things?
Like in what sense?
Like responsibility for others, maybe siblings, maybe something you're working on if you're working with a group, or it's something you want to take responsibility for, like if you are interested. Did you say that you weren't interested in politics?
Yes, at a point. I usually don't take responsibility for things automatically. But if I see I'm the only one who can, I'll do it. That's how I usually go.
What do you think when you watch? I still don't quite follow. When you say yes, do you mean you're not interested in politics, or like?
Not as I was. I'm still interested in like watching the news of what's going on.
But you're not
But
interested in engaging with politics or like interfering yourself.
not as I used to. Not as I used to. In fact, I wouldn't intervene much.
But you did used to have some inclination towards that.
Yes, actually.
Okay, that's interesting. Now that's both meritum and fiducium, so that can still be explained with fiducium. They are like in the same column.
Right.
So there is it's like fiducium is more like mental, trying to come up with progressive ideas, to put it simply, and meritum is more like implementing those progressive ideas.
Okay.
What about problem solving? Are you drawn to solving problems?
Problem solving, like, in what sense?
Well, in any sense. Well, it doesn't sound like you feel any kind of recognition. Like problem solving, it could be social problems, it could be technical problems, it could be, I don't know, maybe I guess people who are interested in problem solving tends to, I guess, become some kind of administrator or coach, or even a politician, maybe.
Oh, okay.
It's a very urbanic and meritomic thing. Also fiduciamic, probably, to some extent. The problem with these energies is to really find what defines them and contrasts them. But because they are like mixtures and reflection of each other, they do like merge into each other also to a certain extent, which is what makes people kind of similar, so that there are many descriptions that a lot of people can identify with, but it always comes down to like a matter of degree, like more or less. And then I tend to type or categorize based on that. Would you say that you are concerned with purity? Like, do you dislike vulgarity?
Only partially. There are like some things some contexts in which I actually appreciate a certain level of like a certain level of like low level communication to like generate a sense of lightheartedness in a way, but I have my limits. Like if that's used to like in the sense of generating conflict or putting people down with that, I'm not down for that. But some kind of a low level communication, like even slang, those kind of things. Even though I'm in a space in which that is not used much, I'm okay with it mostly.
What about judging yourself? Like, do you feel how strong is yours? It didn't feel like you had a lot of problem with self-criticism. You seem kind of neutral there, or even not suffering or struggling too much with self-criticism. Is that correct?
I actually used to be have a lot of problems with self criticism. Um, why did that change? Uh, maybe it. I guess it had to do with trying to get a realistic perspective of who I am and what I am achieving, and what I'm achieving in contrast with the resources that I have, and it also to a point in comparison to other people, because uh, you might trying to achieve something, but what you're trying to achieve is really it's really a high ordeal, and it's not really something easy in general. And in that sense, I'm trying to be more more like maybe more realistic, but without stopping in my journey. And that's how I've become a bit self-critical through time. And but I still try to push myself a bit. And if I notice something that in which I can improve, I do become self-critical.
Would you say that just since you say that you were more self-critical in the past, would you also say that you were more pessimistic in the past?
Uh, only a bit, only a bit. But like in the past, I would try to strike a balance between optimism and realism. I still try to do that, but I think my vision of reality has changed a bit, in which I think there's a bit more of a positive perspective of what I can do.
Would you say that you are more interested in ideas or more interested in like people? Or like is your concern, your interests, like since you seem enthusiastic about both ideas and people, but would you say that your desire to help people and like the whole social thing is stronger than wanting to like invent or explore and create things that you are personally mostly interested in?
Uh, I think that will depend on how surrounded with people I am. And if I'm not surrounded with many people, I will be more inclined to do my own thing. But the more I am surrounded with other people and the more I am explained by other people about what they need, that will change a bit. And I will try to strike more of a balance.
Yeah, because there was one question where you lean more towards fiducian than Misericordem, but I don't know what quite to ask there. But what I asked second there, I think I will. Yeah, you help me improve a questionnaire, so that's good. But I think
Great.
we've been talking for almost an hour, and I'm pretty satisfied with this. I think that you are what I refer to then as a Misericordem with fiducia and probably corpus secondary. Perhaps you have but yes, your desire to help and be good, it sounds more pure than more like a meritocratic ambition. I do believe that meritum also is inclined towards morality, but I think it's a bit more thick-skinned energy overall. I would need to really contrast something, and your lack of interest in politics. What about teaching? Are you interested? Have you ever considered being a teacher, or do you like teaching people?
I have worked as a teacher, actually.
Yeah, you mentioned that it was was that you, or am I mixing you up with? Can you tell me about that?
Oh, well, it was actually two instances. The first one was one in which I was. There are some academies here in Peru in which young people are prepared, young people who are in the last years of school or who just left school are preparing to take the entrance exams for universities, and that sometimes requires special preparation. And that one of those academies that takes care of that special preparation. That's where I worked. I was there for like 1 or 2 years. I actually enjoy doing that, and sometimes when I had a bit more time, I would also enjoy taking the big batch of information that was available there, and piece it together in order to make it understandable in an easy way. And also, when was doing my internship for my psychology internship, I was also sometimes took the place as a substitute teacher. There are some times in which I didn't have to teach anything, and sometimes in which I could. And if I could, I would do it. Actually, I actually do enjoy doing it and participating in the learning process of somebody.
Yeah. Would you say that, how did you how did you get those kind of jobs? Did you seek them out, or did you just need the money, or
I seek them out. I seek them out actually.
you sought them? Yeah, well, I think that sounds a bit meritocratic because of the patterns I've observed that people who have meritum secondary tends to be drawn to things like politics or teaching professions or like conventional religious institutions, like becoming a priest or pastor, things of that sort. So again, I would say I would not rule out meritum.
Okay. So the big thing right now, what are my third type would be either meritum or corpus, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the other are, don't really have any doubt that you are Misericordem with fiduciam secondary.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That definitely makes a lot of sense.
And I have two other interviews with corpus third, same configuration, but corpus third. Frank and Christian, if you want to check them out on my channel and see how much you relate to them.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to see that, and also see what the structures of corpus and what is the other one, meritum are about. To see what what I can relate from them.
Yeah, I have the blog with information profiles, and then I have videos and also I mentioned things in videos such as this, but it's all also like a process of research. So nothing is perhaps some things are like perhaps subject to change a bit, even if I still think they are somewhat robust, and there are some things that I don't plan to change that I'm pretty sure about. But yeah, this has been useful. So thank you for participating. I hope you.
Yeah, will help.
Okay, I will just stop the recording first.
Okay.